Elizabeth Holmes started the company at age 19. Elizabeth Holmes started the company at age 19.
You founded this company 12 years ago, right? Tell them how old you were.
I was 19.
Don't worry about the future. We're in good hands.
And who is Elizabeth Holmes?
Theranos is a diagnostics startup that was founded in 2003 in Silicon Valley by a young Stanford dropout named Elizabeth Holmes.
She was, what, 19 or 20
She was
when
19
she started?
when she dropped out in late 2003 by her boyfriend, a man named Sunny Balwani, who was 19 years her senior.
What is the lesson for the press, do you think, as well as consumers of the press? You know, whether or not you're in a position to invest $100 million in something. You know, what do reporters or what do media people and consumers of media need to take away from this story?
To me, it's not just the media and consumers of the media. It's really American society at large. We've come to deify these young, college dropouts who found these startups in Silicon Valley and attract a lot of funding and pretty soon become these unicorns, which is the term that's been coined to describe companies, private companies that have reached a valuation of $1 billion or more. Theranos, by the way, achieved at its peak a valuation of $10 billion, and for a couple months there, it was more valuable than Uber, Airbnb, and Spotify. Not many people realize that. I think the lesson is that these are just young kids, we've turned them into these icons and these heroes, and they've become what our children aspire to be when they come out of college and graduate school. And I think the Theranos scandal should make us re-examine this whole value system.
This has been a baptism by fire for you. It's obviously been a very tough cut. That was a very tough story in the Wall Street Journal. Other people have piled on. What have you learned in the process? I mean, you started this at a very young age. You were only 19 years old. There's no reason why you should know what it's like to run a $9 billion company or deal with this kind of a press attack. But what are the most important lessons you've taken away from this? Who do you rely on? I mean, this was such a big thing that happened to you, if I can say so, very young in your life.
In 2003, then 19-year-old Elizabeth Holmes dropped out of Stanford and founded Theranos.
Elizabeth Holmes wanted to be the new Steve Jobs. She even dressed like him, for goodness sake. And for a while, she fooled everyone, becoming the youngest self-made female billionaire in the world. Forbes even valued her at over $4.5 billion. Dropping out of Stanford at 19, her first step was to use her illustrious family's connections.
There's no doubt in my mind that the grandiosity of her project and the extraordinary breadth of her ambition for such a young woman was grounded in the idea of restoring the grandeur and greatness of the Fleischman and Holmes family.
So this is Elizabeth Holmes. In 2003, Ms. Holmes dropped out of Stanford University. She was a chemical engineer. I still, regardless, I'm a huge fan of her. I mean, I think the things that she's done, regardless of the company, personally, she's a very strong character. She presents very well. She did a TED Med talk a few years back that I thought was fantastic. So as a person, I really actually admire her vision for this company. In 2003, she drops out of Stanford Biomed, right? So chemical engineering program, sorry. She's 19 years old and starts this company. There were a couple of articles that had come out in 2012 that were all very flattering of Elizabeth and her talents. And she was named top 30 under 30, top 40 under 40, all these different minor things that really ultimately didn't get picked up by the press until a little bit later on.
Ms. Holmes, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
This is Elizabeth Holmes, once the youngest female self-made billionaire.